SLT speed up සවාරිය සමගින් සද්දන්ත වාසි රැල්ලක්. අලුත් broadband සබඳතා සඳහා පළමු මාස දෙක පුරා data double speed up with SLT.
Making headlines on First at 9. Regional development. President Maithripala Sirisena addresses BIMSTEC summit. Also meets Indian Premier Narendra Modi. Overcoming disruptive forces. Prime Minister highlights need for solid strategy to combat social media threats.
Social media sites are also becoming global disruptive forces. Therefore, we'll need a solid strategy.
Deliberations begin. Expert committee on Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement convenes. GMOA forms broad alliance to fight against pacts detrimental to country.
GMO has summoned a gathering consist of the political parties, parliamentary members, the trade unions and all the patriotic forces to form a yet another historic move.
Daring and bold. Entrepreneurs fire up on country's economic sentiments.
What we don't want is the shocks. The government should not give shocks to the system.
Sometimes it's like a roller coaster effect. Sometimes the government also needs the money.
If the private sector is going to be the engine of growth, you can't take money from that and give it to an inefficient public sector.
Regulating cricket. ICC sets deadlines for delayed Sri Lanka cricket election. A very good evening to all our viewers who's joined with us here on our Derana 24/7. I'm Katharina Chang. Now moving on to your top story tonight. President Maithripala Sirisena, who is currently in Nepal, attended the 4th BIMSTEC summit in Kathmandu today. The president also delivered an address at the summit. At the conclusion of the summit tomorrow, the chairmanship of BIMSTEC will be handed over to Sri Lanka by the current chair, Nepal. On the sidelines of the summit, President Sirisena also met Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
President Maithripala Sirisena, who left the country to attend the 4th summit of the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral, Technical and Economic Cooperation, arrived at Kathmandu, Nepal yesterday. The leaders who attend the summit are to adopt the 4th BIMSTEC Summit Declaration towards a peaceful, prosperous and sustainable Bay of Bengal region on the 31st of August upon the conclusion of the summit.
I gladly state that the democracy in the country I represent, Sri Lanka, is preserved. Human rights are strengthened, institutions are established to take action against corruption and fraud, and steps are taken against anyone who misbehaves irrespective of their post or the political party. We should pay attention to the areas highlighted through the BIMSTEC summit.
In line with the summit, the heads of the states that attended the event met with the President of Nepal, Bidya Devi Bhandari, at the residence of the President in Kathmandu. In the meantime, President Maithripala Sirisena also met the President of Myanmar, Win Myint, this morning, and both leaders paid their attention to further strengthen the long-standing bilateral relations between the two countries, which was entered into in 1999. President Maithripala Sirisena then met the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, said that he deeply appreciates the commitment made by President Maithripala Sirisena to achieve reconciliation and sustainable peace while ensuring democracy and freedom in Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Modi said that the BIMSTEC will become a stronger organization under the leadership of President Sirisena, who is a leader with more experiences. The Indian Premier further said that through the new leadership, BIMSTEC will receive an opportunity to achieve its objectives and goals.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe highlights the necessity of a solid strategy to combat disruptive forces of social media in destabilizing nations. Delivering the keynote address at the inauguration of the Colombo Defence Seminar 2018, the Premier added that multinational is therefore essential in issues pertaining to national and international security.
The inauguration of the Colombo Defence Seminar 2018, themed Security in an Era of Global Disruption, was held at the BMICH today under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. President Maithripala Sirisena, who is currently participating at the BIMSTEC summit in Nepal, also sent his message for the inaugural event. Also speaking at the event, Army Commander Lieutenant General Mahesh Senanayake said, collective efforts of many nations are required to combat emerging disruptions.
Emerging security threats are beyond the scope of traditional security needs of a state. Emerging disruptions could take place in any field that has a significant impact on the functionings of the livelihood of the citizens. The emergence of this new security environment has aptly justified the military involvement in handling such matters. In this backdrop, military forces are generally regarded as the first responders to deal with any crisis situation. Due to the nature and extended connectivity of non-traditional security threats, the solution to these problems cannot be found within the national boundaries of a single state. This solution would require the collective efforts of many nations.
Conflicts are no longer limited to conventional weapons and battles, and therefore conflict management and resolution demands a more comprehensive and integrated approach than ever before. New media, including social media sites such as Facebook, Twitter and other websites on the internet, are also becoming global disruptive forces. We are seeing the potential of this new media to destabilize nations and effect serious changes in the case of countries like Tunisia and Egypt. Multidimensional global disruptive forces can considerably weaken the state. Therefore, the responses to combating these threats will need a solid strategy. Multinational cooperation in all forms of affairs, particularly in the issues related to national and international security, therefore, is essential due to the complex nature of threats developing against the humanity and mankind. In such a complex world, effectiveness of militaries are more realistic to visualize in a collaborative and cooperative landscape than a competitive arena.
Venerable Galgudatte Sarath Athira, who is currently serving 6 years in prison, was transferred to the prison's hospital following the surgery at the Jawadhanapura hospital this evening. Prison spokesperson Tushar Upuldaniya, speaking to other Derana, said that he is currently being treated at the prison's hospital.
Venerable Galgudatte Sarath Athira was convicted over contempt of court and sentenced by the Court of Appeal to 19 years of rigorous imprisonment to be completed within 6 years on 8th of August. Sarath Athira was charged for threatening Sandhya Eknaligoda, the wife of missing journalist Prageet Eknaligoda, and contempt of court by behaving in an unruly manner within the Homagama court premises. By the time the verdict was given, Sarath Athira was admitted to Sri Javardhanapura hospital for a surgery and therefore wasn't able to imprison. Today, however, he was transferred to the prison hospitals. Meanwhile, the request for filing an appeal challenging the 6-year sentence given to the Athira will be taken up for consideration by the Court of Appeal tomorrow.
The expert committee appointed by President Maithripala to conduct a special study on Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement and produce a report convened for the first time today. The committee convened at the Bandaranayake Memorial International Conference Hall premises, and the Presidential Media Unit said that the final report is due to be handed over to the President within 2 months.
The 5-member committee appointed by the President to study the Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement is led by former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Colombo, Deshamane Professor Emeritus W.D. Lakshman. He is joined by former Professor of Economics Sirimewan Kolombage and Ajitha Tennakon, as well as economic consultant Dr. Sana Janetti and former Assistant Governor of Central Bank R.A. Jayatissa. The committee will convene for 4 consecutive days and consult public views, and the report will be handed over to the President within 2 months.
ඉදිරියේ අදහස් දැක්වීමට කැමති අය සඳහා අවස්ථාව කාලය වේලා යොදා ගන්නට කියලා දැන්වීමක් කළා. අද ඉඳලා 30 වෙනිදා ඉඳලා මහජන අදහස් ලබා ගැනීම අපි ආරම්භ කරනවා.
In the meantime, the Government Medical Officers Association convened a meeting to form a broad People's Alliance against signing of the Singapore FTA and plans to sign EDCA and the Thailand FTA without a national trade policy at present. The joint opposition Janatha Vimukti Peramuna Mahasangha, several people's organizations and social activists participated at today's meeting.
GMO has summoned a gathering consist of the political parties, parliamentary members, the trade unions and other all the patriotic forces to form a yet another historic move to give a clear message to the community as well as the government to show the unity of the people regarding this fraudulently signed Singapore Free Trade Agreement without a national trade policy, and to make the aware to the President that we are going to hand over a letter requesting to stop the Singapore Agreement and form a national trade policy, and to stop the ongoing process of signing the other free trade agreement including ITCA and the Thailand Free Trade Agreement.
In the meantime, UPFA parliamentarian Udaya Gammanpila appeared before the commission to make submissions to the committee on the free trade agreement.
I made submissions how Singapore-Sri Lanka free trade agreement has made a bad impact on Sri Lankan economy, employment, environment, health as well as our culture. Because firstly and foremostly, the most important factor is Sri Lanka has no trade policy to evaluate against this agreement to decide whether this agreement good or bad. So we urge the committee to first formulate a trade policy, then only you can decide upon the Singapore agreement. Sri Lanka, according to this agreement, is ready to accept 77 different types of garbage, including e-waste, nuclear waste, clinical waste and sewage sludge. Therefore,
meanwhile, speaking to First at 9, UPFA parliamentarian Kanchana Wijesekara spoke about the alliance came to with professional bodies to take further measures on the unfavourable agreements to the country.
Today we came into a discussion and agreement with 48 professional bodies in Sri Lanka, stand together and form a platform where we can educate the people about the Singapore Free Trade Agreement that will not be beneficial for the Sri Lankan public, but will put the country, take the country into more turmoil in the near future. So we call upon everyone who has voiced their concerns against the Singapore Free Trade Agreement and as well as the activities of the government in the past 3.5 years to come out on the 5th to show your protest.
Enterprise Sri Lanka 2018 National Exhibition promoting reconciliation, democracy and development got underway in Monaragala today for the second day. The event aimed at publicising the government's ambitious program Vision 2025 to create a paradise for entrepreneurs was opened to the general public at Monaragala today by Civil Aviation and Transport Minister Maithripala de Silva and Public Enterprise and Kandy City Development Minister Lakshman Kiriyala this evening. The exhibition consists of 12 zones and over 5,000 trade stalls of private and public sectors to raise the awareness among the public on the implementation of the recently launched interest subsidized loan scheme Enterprise Sri Lanka. The premises consists of banks, companies and state agencies in place for aspiring entrepreneurs to get training and credit from several schemes which are subsidized to the state. The exhibition will be held until tomorrow at the premises of the Monaragala District Secretariat. The 23rd Sumathi Awards ceremony was held at the Nelumpukuna Theatre last night, with TV Derana claiming a number of awards. Ada Derana won the award for Best Television Current Affairs News Reporting for 2018, while taking home the Best Investigative News Reporting title.
The 23rd Sumathi Awards ceremony was held at the Nelumpukuna Theatre last night. The ceremony was graced by many artists and nominees from various categories. Ada Derana clinched the award for Best Television Current Affairs News Reporting for its news piece on the Pahiyangala cave being under the risk of a landslide.
හොඳම රූපවාහිනී කාලීන ප්‍රවෘත්ති වාර්තාකරණය පළමුවන ස්ථානය Derana රූපවාහිනිය.
Derana Ukusa program was awarded under the category of Best Investigative News Reporting for its exposure of the murder of Dalaputtua. The Best Announcer was awarded to Kadum Srimal for comparing Manovana Mama, telecast by TV Derana. Best Actor in the popular category was won by Ravin Kanishka for his performance in Devani Inima, also telecast in TV Derana. The award for the Best Children's Program was won by Tintin Mama Children's Program. Veteran actor Tissa Vijay Surendra and veteran actress Geeta Kumarasinghe were honoured with the UW Sumathipala Memorial Lifetime Award.
And with that, let's go for a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
6 leading entrepreneurs came together at a panel discussion last evening to voice their opinion on the current economic sentiments and business climate. Let's take a look at some fiery comments expressed during the forum yesterday. International Chamber of Commerce Sri Lanka, together with SIMA, organised a business forum titled A Fireside Chat with 6 bold and daring entrepreneurs in Colombo last evening.
Mr. Javan, somebody wants to know how you felt when you lost Sri Lanka Insurance and Apollo Hospitals and how you reacted to it. You need the
hard-earned money we have bought. We have competed and bought, not by going behind politicians. They put up in the auction, stock exchange, and we bought. And the goalpost is changed. Not only these two, about Palawata Sugar. 16,000 shareholders, that's why I said, why the investor confidence is lost? You buy something in the stock exchange, you bring act in parliament and you take it. At least pay compensation. The government owes me over 25 billion rupees, only pieces of paper. 10 years have gone. So I have decided to take them to court. It's a contempt of court matter. Not only me, there are so many other industries that have been taken over today. When I was in the Lanka, we made profit. Today, it is a loss. No investor should come here. Interference. See what is happening in the commission. Shocking. We had a bond commission. What happened? People are not in the country. I succeeded that gentleman in the BOI. The entire trade union surrounded me and gave me petitions. Our chairman has gone through every week on investment promotion and taken $250,000 on IOU choice of office. A man like that, you go and give him the entire treasury. I told that to the responsible people, they did not want to listen. At the end, they ended up with a bigger disaster.
What we need is the country to prosper, because if the economy is not prospering, the opportunities are not there, corporates to grow. That is the issue. So I think the problem is that, I don't know, we are not here to teach the government how to govern, but I think we need strong leadership. What we need is, I think, a little bit of a dictator, right? Otherwise, I don't think that this country will go anywhere. Right now that we don't know who's the leader, because the two governments, two parties are governing and nobody is making decisions. Okay.
No, I mean, what can the private sector do instead of expecting government to deliver?
What we don't want is the shocks. Government should not give shocks to the system. My personal experience.
Yeah.
Engineering, construction was at 12% tax rate. And that was one of the main factors for me to even take it public. Yeah. Right, 12%. Overnight, they increased from 12% to 28%. That is 150% straight increase. Then they put a 2% NBT on turnover. That works out to another 10%. Then the dividend tax, they increased to 14%. So overnight, I have to consider a 311% additional tax. How am I going to go to Ammi can say, now you gave me a contract, now increase by 300%.
Sometimes it's like a roller coastering effect. Sometimes the government also need the money. Otherwise, this country cannot run. It's today's situation without increase the taxes and those kind of a thing. The government revenue is going to be 1,400 billion.
Engine of growth. If the private sector is going to be the engine of growth, you can't take money from that and give it to inefficient public sector.
No, but only
it's simple as that. It's very simple thing. You can't take from the efficient sector and give it to the inefficient sector.
The government also have to balance their, the cash flows, because otherwise country cannot run.
I fully agree, but the 10,000 rupee increment they gave and not reducing the fuel prices was not called for. Nobody asked for it.
End of the 5 years, they have to give something, no?
I think you should run for presidency, and I will support you fully.
Now, for a full view of the fireside chat panel discussion, you can log on to our Other Derana 24/7 YouTube page for the full discussion. Now, moving on to some other business news now. Shares ended higher today, moving away from their lowest close in 17 months hit earlier this week. The All-Share Price Index ended 0.53% higher at 6,076.68, posted its third gains in 14 sessions. The day's turnover was at 337.9 million rupees, less than half of this year's daily average of 814.4 million rupees. We now have Achutan Srirangan from First Capital Holdings for a detailed report.
Market entered on the positive sentiment for the second trading session on the gain made by CLC and Silinco Insurance, as Provident Fund decision to enter on the stock market possibility effect on the investor sentiment. All-Share Price Index witnessed an uptrend volatile movement, reaching an intraday high of 6,088, gaining 32 points. Both turnover and the volumes are dipped compared to the previous day. 500,000 shares of John Kills was traded at 140 a share.
The Sri Lankan rupee dropped to an all-time low today, marking its 8th straight session of setting fresh record lows as dollar demand from importers remains strong with sluggish inflows. The rupee, which hit a fresh record low of 161 rupees and 61 cents early in the day, closed steady at 161 rupees and 40 to 50 cents per dollar compared with yesterday's close. With that, let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan currency traded against other major currencies in the world. Now, with the aim of promoting awareness on mental health issues, the Courage, Compassion, Commitment Foundation commenced its 5th annual bikeathon from Independence Square yesterday in a bid to bring the subject to the attention of the masses. The CCC Line 1333, launched by the foundation, is Sri Lanka's only 24/7 free telephone counselling service to help those who need to be listened to in times of emotional crisis.
For the 5th consecutive year, CCC Line 1333 is holding its annual bikeathon to spread awareness for its free telephone counselling service and encourage people to voice their personal struggles and ensure assistance is granted to those with mental illness or suicidal thoughts. Over 20 bikers from across the world took part in the campaign and will travel 1,333 kilometers and will stop in 13 main cities in the island from the 29th to August to the 10th of September. The event kicked off in Colombo at the Independence Square yesterday morning and reached its second destination in Chilau yesterday afternoon with the participation of veteran cricketer Kumar Sangakkara. Entering its second day today, the group of cyclists made their way to Dambulla from Chilau. The awareness campaign is also an effort to raise funds to sustain and expand its operations and assist efforts in suicide prevention.
Hello, my name is Zeid and this is my wife, Erika Devapura. We have ridden to Dambulla from Chilau. The message is, if you're feeling sad, if you're having issues, and you have no one to talk to, or no one will listen to you, please call 1333.
The ultimate aim of CCC Line 1333 is to prevent suicide in Sri Lanka through education of mental health, engagement and empowerment.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
The outgoing UN Human Rights Chief Zeid Raad Hussein says Myanmar's de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi should have resigned over the military's violent campaign against the Rohingya Muslim minority last year. Zeid Raad Hussein told the BBC the Nobel Peace Prize winner should have considered returning to house arrest rather than excusing the military. A new UN report says Myanmar's military should be investigated for genocide. Myanmar has rejected the report as one-sided. The army of the Buddhist majority nation, which has been accused of systematic ethnic cleansing, has previously cleared itself of wrongdoing. The UN report published on Monday blames Suu Kyi, a long-term leader of the pro-democracy movement, for failing to prevent the violence. The United Nations called on Russia, Iran and Turkey today to forestall a battle in Syria's Idlib province, which would affect millions of civilians and could see both militants and the government potentially using chlorine as a chemical weapon. UN Syria envoy Staffan de Mistura said there was a high concentration of foreign fighters in Idlib, including an estimated 10,000 fighters designated by the UN as terrorists who he said belong to the Al-Nusra Front and Al-Qaeda.
The estimates of the Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, whatever name they want to call themselves, is more or less around 10,000 of them, plus families. Now, the people in Idlib, larger area, are 2.9 million people. So there is, and it can be, no justification in order to fight, rightfully, terrorists, to not avoid using heavy weapons in densely populated areas. One avenue would be to, one, not accelerate military escalation and give a little bit more time for this type of discussion. Two, allow and facilitate a credible humanitarian corridor to allow civilian population to temporarily evacuate to a safer area. But that area most likely is under government control. So that requires a constructive, effective government support and a UN presence.
US President Donald Trump has lashed out at China for undermining its work with North Korea as criticism over progress on denuclearization mounts. In a series of tweets, he also said he saw no reason to resume the joint war games with South Korea that have angered North Korea. Days ago, his own defense secretary said military exercises might continue. China has accused Trump of shifting blame in his comments on its relations with North Korea. A summit between Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in June ended with a pledge from the North to work towards a complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Soon after, the US president announced there was no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea. But since then, many observers say North Korea is not moving fast enough to dismantle its nuclear on rocket sites. Sri Lanka missed the final hope of a medal in the track events of the Asian Games today, as the Sri Lankan team finished fourth in the men's 4x100 meter events, clocking 3 minutes and 2.74 seconds. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka won against the United Arab Emirates and lost against South Korea in the preliminary round of the men's 7-a-side rugby today.
The final hope for a medal for Sri Lanka in the track events of the 2018 Asian Games slipped off as the athletes finished fourth in the men's 4x400 meter event. The Sri Lanka team clocked a time of 3 minutes and 2.4 seconds to end the event. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka today competed against two nations in the preliminary round of the men's 7-a-side rugby. In the first encounter of Group C, Sri Lanka thrashed United Arab Emirates 68-0. Meanwhile, in another match of the preliminary round, Sri Lanka was defeated 31-26 by South Korea.
The International Cricket Council has granted time until February 9 next year for Sri Lanka to hold cricket elections. Sports Minister Faisal Mustafa told other Derana the ICC's decision following a meeting with ICC Chairman Shashank Manohar and CEO Dave Richardson in Dubai. When contacted, the Sports Minister said that it was also agreed to appoint a management committee which will consist of 4 independent members together with a competent authority to manage affairs of SLC until elections are held.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Sheila Fernando is at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
A very good evening to our viewers and welcome to Forecast First. Starting off with your temperatures for tomorrow, that will vary between 20 and 35 degrees Celsius with the highest of 35 expected in Ampara and Batiklo. Well, when looking at the map, a low pressure zone will develop in the western province and will gradually spread throughout the island. Moving on to your rain forecast for tomorrow, most parts of the upper region of the island will experience showers with thunder activity also expected. It's no difference in the low region of the island as most parts except for Gaul, Mathura and Kandy will experience showers with thunder activity also expected. That's all from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And that is all we have from Ada Derana First at 9 for tonight. But before we go, we would like to take you to Kaludiya Pukuna Archaeological Forest in Kandalama. Richly diverse in both floral and fauna, the forest is home for many endemic and non-endemic species which thrive in these habitats better than in other forests in Sri Lanka. We wish you a pleasant evening and hope you enjoy these visuals.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Ada Derana 24/7.